Hi everybody, today is the eclipse day and I am starting this video over because even though the subject is so important, it was interrupted halfway through the video by a student, well really the relative, but the student has the same issue that I'm going over. So it's funny the functions in the universe that try to keep this information from coming out. So please take very seriously what I'm about to talk about, okay? So today we're continuing our natural magic series. Today I'm talking about the fog. Now, the source for this information, or for this power, is source itself. It's all around you. It's the potential probability field itself. It is the law of conservation. So what we're talking about is tapping into the vault. It's not specifically the Akashic record. I don't particularly trust, the Akashic record. I think that it is too subjective, and you've got too many parallel things going on. And I'll talk about parallel selves later, but I just don't personally get into that. What I'm interested in is this data field, this actualization, what is happening right now, and where am I going right now. Now, there are about 4 different ones I'm going to cover. The first 2 are contained in The Secret of the Golden Flower, and they are Oblivion and Distraction. And then you've got the Fog, and then the last one is what I'm going to cover is, and I'm going to go into a deeper one sometime on family alchemy, but family, I guess you would be, family amnesia, and ancestral, loss of ancestral connection. So I'll cover that a little bit at the end of this video, but we have to do a whole separate one sometime. Okay, so Oblivion and Distraction. Huge problems in our culture. Oblivion is the energy that tries to keep you lulled to sleep, tries to knock you out, and it is a serious problem of clarity and the inappropriate use of fire and energy and clarity. And if you can, in general with all of these, if you can tap into them at any point, you can tap into them anywhere, including during war, surrounded by death, very difficult situations. You can have access to this information, source information at any time. And that's an important aspect of this natural magic. It's not something you need to conjure up. It is simply about revealing right now, because the law of physics apply everywhere. That's the important thing. The law of physics are everywhere, including in the spirit realm. These laws slightly change or alter in the same way that light becomes, it's first invisible to us, then it's visible, then it's invisible again. It's the same basic thing. It's just that its frequency adjusts, changes the physics of it, what happens, and how it interacts with the data field around you. So all the physics that you learn, whether it's the overt physical physics that we're mostly concerned with in our modern culture, or the hidden physics of the supreme sciences, all of them are accessible everywhere. And once you start learning to subconsciously obey the laws of God and follow the changes, and you establish your then you will be able to tap into them anywhere. So Oblivion is there to stop you, and maybe it's a test, or maybe it's a function of the Dark Lord, maybe it's darkness itself. It certainly has that appearance. You know it best is when you go to read a book that you really need to read or want to read, you fall asleep, but you can spend all day staring at, violent movie. You have plenty of energy for that. So Oblivion is a major problem, but so is distraction. I think distraction is probably the largest one. There are so many different ways people distract themselves, from over multitasking for their basic level of ability, to never being willing to look at the exact thing that they need to be talking about. There are whole plays and books that are written on the dialogue of people actively avoiding discussing things, and they're using almost nothing but metaphor. I don't know what the style of that is called, but it is really strange when you see it. And it's kind of the Great Gatsby approach to writing. And then there's the fog. Now, the fog is an amnesic fog. It is a matter of people not being able to see through to the past. And that fog is, there's a great fog that's the amnesia of mankind, the historical fog that comes from just where people misremember things, and or the victors writing the history change the history. And as you can see from what's happening right now, people don't want to learn history, and so they become angry and try to bury the history rather than just approach it. And that fog is itself as addictive as anything you would eat, and because it's still dampness. It's all dampness. So the fog, the oblivion, the distraction, those are the three main forces that are keeping you from tapping in. Now, the one that I most want to talk about, want to spend the most time on, is talking about the ancestral disconnect. Now, you could, if you were conspiracy-minded, you could say that this goes back to the ruling families. It goes back to the Tudors and the Windsors and all these things that have come forward and are trying to keep people from having access to their family information. So during the industrial age, the later agricultural, but the industrial age, people becoming less and less family-oriented, families being destroyed, trade crafts being destroyed, all these things being taken away from them so that they would have no power. And look at how many people, and ask yourself, what do you actually know about your family history? How much have you sat down and filled out a family Bible or a family tree? Have you gone to genie.com and filled it in? Have you subscribed to ancestry.com and started getting the information? Most people have not, and they could not tell themselves what's really happening. Recently, someone that is a patient discovered that a family lineage that she thought was 100% true, DNA testing revealed it was not that way. So when you have blockages in your ancestral, how can you possibly tap into the ancestral Qi, Zong Qi? Now, Zong Qi is associated with breathing, but it's associated with the data field around you. That's why it's considered to be in the air. It's etheric. And Zong Qi is absolutely necessary to the formation of proper defense Qi. And when we say defense Qi, of course, we also mean offense Qi, because without, it's like that yin-yang right there, without a good offense, there is no good defense. And without a good defense, there is no good offense. So to have a real ability to fight back against life's forces, chaos and bad luck, and to really reach to our destiny, our port of call on the other side of the ocean, we have to be able to be a bit offensive. And the only way that's going to be possible is if you have strength. And that strength cannot come from a single one or two generations. And you are absolutely due that kind of energy. And think about this. We all are used to the pyramid going this way in terms of, one begetting two and two begetting four, and it continue on the family tree getting bigger and bigger, and then there's a bunch of death and it whittles it down. We're used to thinking in that way. I want you to stop and think about this. I want you to understand how special you are. All right, so in 100 years, how many generations, roughly speaking? Let's say 4 generations, just to be a little bit conservative. It's really almost 5, and at some points in human history, it could be 5 or 6. I have a cousin who's a grandma, and she's only 1 year older than I am. So if you have 2 parents, and each of them has 2 parents, and each of them has 2 parents, and each of them has 2 parents, that's 16. In 100 years, you've gone 2 to the 4. So now take that back to 1,000 years. What's that going to be? 2 to the 40? And keep taking it back. Now, I know some of them are going to overlap and people are crossing, but it's still a lot of people in your ancestral energy. This is an important point, that you have mathematically connection to practically an endless number of people in your DNA. So you have different abilities latent within you. It's just a matter of being able to connect to that and to really understand that this person is literally my brother. He's not some guy off the street. I mean, he is a guy off the street. But when I see him, I must understand that he is me. The source of all of our natural magic and what gives us power against the darkness is that when we are with light, we see through the various sins and separations, the vagaries of of the ego, and we see that person who is suffering as me that is also suffering, and so that we are all really children of God. Even if they don't want to be, or they're being obscured at the moment, you could almost think of it like as if there was an app you could carry around, and it had bars, and it could show you how much obscuration, how much distraction, how much egotism the person's got going on. It'd show a little cloud when they're having a bad day. There's thunder if it's like really, really bad. Maybe there's like a dark ray coming down if they're going through dark night of the soul. Right? You have the ability to actually see that. I mean, it'd be nice to have an app on the phone, but the reality is you have the ability to actually look through people and see what they are experiencing. And you can ask my patients. They often come in here, they don't want to talk about the divorces they're going through. They don't want to talk about the abuse that they had. And I start changing the data field around, and I start pulling things out of them, or I supply kind of a little push, and it disperses them off the center, and then maybe they cry, or maybe they suddenly confess something. I mean, I've had people confess that they wish that their parents were dead, because of how hard it is to care for them, and that's really hard for them to admit. But truth is truth. So first learn before you go seeking the dredging up of arcane energies, like imagining yourself as kind of like a Harry Potter Tesla. First, tap into the abilities you have right here, right now, right around you. And that could be being able to discern meaning and oracles. It could be just be synchronistic. It could be manifest. For me, it's every day win the day. Every day win the day. And if you can do that, then I believe you will be doing the most natural magic, which is take what you're given by God and do the best you can with it, right then, right there, and see what natural beauty pops up in your life. Okay, so work on that, and if you have questions, let me know. God bless, and have a great Eclipse Day.